Alright guys, so these two yellow lines right here are basically drawn from the V's. So when I say V's, it's basically the crease between the thumb and the pointer finger. It creates kind of a V shape. And for the left-hand grip for a right-handed golfer, I'd like to see that V basically maybe about 2 inches right of the neck. Again, for a right-handed golfer. Then the right-hand V is going to be basically at the trail side shoulder. Now this is my grip personally, and it's a little bit stronger than normal, but typically for my students, I teach in general a stronger grip than quote-unquote neutral. So anyways, again, you want to see the lines. Again, the right-handed line right at the trail side shoulder. Then again, you want to see the left-hand V pointing somewhere right of that. So when you start getting, let's show an example here. When you start getting the V pointing a little bit more this way, that's going to be excessively strong in the right hand. Same goes as I see a lot of players get this V pointing a little bit more like such, which would be on the weaker side. So for the swing that I teach, generally, it's more of a rotational swing with not a lot of face rotations through the impact. I teach a stronger grip. Now again, that doesn't mean that everyone should have a strong grip, and that doesn't mean I teach everyone a rotational swing. So that's going to be more something I discuss on my membership page, which is going to go more into the intricacies of different types of release styles, different types of swings, and kind of how to fit grip and just everything and set up around that. But in this general video, like I said again at the beginning, I'm just kind of teaching off basically what I generally teach most of my students. So again, if you can get those V's looking similar to this, you're going to be in a great position to start your golf swing. Alright, so the last angle that I focus in on is the relationship between the club shaft and the lead side wrist, or the left-hand wrist for a right-handed golfer. So as you can see, I'm not perfectly on this one. I'm probably actually a little bit off at the angle, but ideally I like to see anywhere from 180 with that relationship to about 175. So if you start getting outside those numbers, again, 175 would be a little bit more this way right here. I wouldn't want to see 175 on this side. That means you're adding loft. Again goes, I would not like to see anywhere kind of around this range, because then you're leaning the shaft too much. And again, people who typically do that will do some type of compensatory move to get back down to the golf ball, and then they're going to start messing around with angles and they become a little bit inconsistent. So again, if we can get that angle, ideally anywhere from 180 to 175, you're going to be great. And that's going to get you into a perfect setup to what I generally teach students. Alright guys, so I wanted to show you guys an example of a beginner, one of my students that I was teaching. So this was her first swing before any type of lessons. So as you can see, her tilt was at a negative 178. So she had her pelvis she had her sternum in front of the pelvis by 2 degrees. So I believe this club here, I believe it was a pitching wedge. So again, not too far off, and especially not bad. I've seen some beginners even crazier than this. But again, I shifted her pelvis over to that 180 to 179 type number. As you can also see, if I draw a straight line through the ankles at 180 degree up towards the sky, you can see a big space on the trail side knee. You can also see a big space there. So she's taking too wide of a stance basically. So from there, I narrowed down the stance, I got her tilt right, and she was looking good. Alright, so I also brought up this example because it's, I think it's an interesting one, and basically it's a good example of how minute details can be misportrayed. So if you look at this video from face on, it looks like she has the proper amount of shaft lean at setup, or i.e. the handle is in front of the club head. Now, what you guys don't realize is, again, remember, she was at that negative 178 degree tilt. So when I got her tilted correctly and I got her stance width a little bit more narrow, now it looked like her club head was successfully in front of the club shaft. It was basically just the way her tilt was to make this angle look the way it is. Now when I drew the angle basically through the wrist and the club shaft, she was at around a negative, I believe, 177. So obviously this is kind of where you guys have to understand the relationship between tilts and kind of stance width and how this kind of all goes together. So there's a reason why in this video series I went through tilts first, then I went through pelvis alignment, then I went through grip, and then I kind of went through the shaft angle. So when you guys go through fixing your swings, I highly recommend going through that process, or else you might get some of these numbers confused. Or you might see that, you probably would see in your personal swing that you're at that negative 177, be confused even though it looks correct. So again, go through the process, look for these numbers. It's very much so going to help your guys' golf game. And on to the next part.